A pleasant good morning to our distinguished guests and members of our diplomatic team, heads and representatives of the agencies of the Los Baños science community, partners from government and the private sector, the academe, including faculty and students, SEARCA staff, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 5th session of SEARCA's latest knowledge-sharing platform, the Meet the Diplomat series. This morning is quite meaningful as we are honored to welcome Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to the Republic of the Philippines. We sincerely thank Her Excellency and the Embassy of Ukraine in the Philippines for partnering with SEARCA in this 5th session of the Meet the Diplomat series. The Meet the Diplomat series, or MDS, is anchored on SEARCA's 12th five-year development plan, themed Sustainable Transformation of Agricultural Systems through Innovation in Southeast Asia, or Sustain Southeast Asia. Through this initiative, SEARCA provides a strategic platform where foreign policy priorities and regional agricultural and rural development goals can be meaningfully aligned. Before we proceed with our formal program, please allow me to share a few reminders. Kindly ensure that your mobile phones are on silent mode. The program will consist of our honorable guest's presentation, followed by a moderated open forum, and we respectfully request everyone to remain seated during the formal proceedings. Thank you very much for your cooperation. To open this 5th session of the Meet the Diplomat series, may I invite SEARCA's Deputy Director for Administration, Dr. Rico Angcog, to deliver his welcome remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Dr. Angcog.
Dr. Jose V. Camacho Jr., Chancellor of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and the representative to the CIMEO SEARCA's Governing Board of the Philippines. We also have Dr. Junel Soriano, the Deputy Director General of IRI. Sir, thank you for your time. We also have Dr. Roberto Ranyola, the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Association of Agriculturists. Sir. We also have Dr. Lormelin Claudio, the Director of the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, or ERDB. I hope I did not miss any word. And then, of course, to all our colleagues at the Los Baños science community, our friends from the industry, and students from the academe, of course, our fellow SEARCANs, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. On behalf of SEARCA and our director, Dr. Mercedita Sombilia, it is my great honor to welcome you to the 5th session of the SEARCA's Meet the Diplomat series. This is a platform that bridges diplomacy, science, and policy to advance sustainable agricultural transformation in Southeast Asia. Of course, today we are very much privileged to host Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv, the Ambassador of Ukraine to the Philippines. Ukraine stands as a nation of extraordinary resilience. Despite immense challenges, it continues to uphold its role as the breadbasket of Europe and a steadfast contributor to global food security. In 2022 alone, Ukraine ranked among the world's top producers of wheat, corn, rapeseed, and sunflower products, reinforcing its indispensable role in sustaining food supply chains worldwide. This commitment extends to Southeast Asia, our region, where Ukraine has become a reliable supplier of wheat, flour, soybean, and sunflower oil to countries including Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, and the Philippines. Even in adversity, Ukraine has actively forged new trade corridors and innovative solutions to global food insecurity. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a story that resonates deeply with SEARCA's mission to uplift farming farmers and strengthen agri-food systems. Your Excellency, Ukraine's vision of cooperation with ASEAN offers a strategic framework for deepening collaboration. And allow me to highlight very quickly several pathways. First, expanding food trade facilitation and market access, very important. Second, enhancing data and evidence for policy and investment decisions. Third, reducing technical barriers and improving logistics to lower transaction costs. Next, developing agricultural roadmaps to secure supply chains and strengthen trade corridors. Also, fostering consultations at both state and intergovernmental levels to align priorities. Promoting joint research and policy studies to generate evidence-based solutions. Encouraging engagement of non-state actors. This includes private sector, the academe, and civil society groups to accelerate transformation. And of course, expanding capacity building efforts through training, technical assistance, and institutional strengthening. So these pathways reflect Ukraine's generosity and foresight, including its offer to share agricultural expertise, digital systems, and food security technologies with the Philippines. These are initiatives that can enhance productivity, strengthen climate resilience, and modernize agriculture. SEARCA is proud to host this important conversation. We are optimistic that today's dialogue will open new avenues for collaboration between Ukraine, the Philippines, and the rest of Southeast Asia. The Meet the Diplomat series was created precisely to catalyze partnerships that advance sustainable transformation of agricultural systems through innovation. So, Your Excellency, thank you once again for graciously accepting our invitation. We are deeply honored by your presence and look forward to hearing more about your insights, which will surely pave the way for deeper cooperation between Ukraine and our region. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us seize this opportunity to forge stronger partnerships and reaffirm our shared commitment, building resilient agri-food systems that ensure food security and a sustainable future for all. Magandang umaga po, mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Angkog, for your warm welcome and for articulating the strategic importance of this initiative and reinforcing SEARCA's commitment to strengthening partnerships through diplomacy and innovation. It is now my honor to introduce to you our distinguished guest speaker for this fifth session of the MDS. Today, we have the distinct privilege of welcoming a speaker whose career exemplifies standard-setting leadership across public administration, cultural diplomacy, and international development. Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv has been serving as the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to the Republic of the Philippines since March 2025. But long before entering the diplomatic corps, Ambassador Fediv was a pioneer in public sector management, institution building, and high-impact international programs. A scholar by background, she holds advanced degrees in political science, law, and international public policy, including a PhD in political science from the Yuri Fedkovich Chernivtsi National University, a Master of Law from the National Academy of Management in Kiev, a Master of International and European Law from the University of Bremen in Germany, and a Certificate in Public Administration and Leadership from Syracuse University in New York, USA, under a Fulbright Humphrey Scholarship. She also participated in the Good Governance Program for Eastern and Central European executives with the support of the German Federal Foreign Office and graduated from the Strategic Architect Program at Kiev Mohyla Business School and the Crisis Management Program at Kiev School of Economics. Her career trajectory reflects a rare ability to build systems from the ground up. She started her professional career in 2008 as a specialist in international relations at Bukovinian State Medical University. She served as project manager at the German-Polish-Ukrainian Society in Kiev as part of the German government support program, coordinating the cultural and artistic project Inclusion for Children in Difficult Life Circumstances, and was involved in creating the Ukrainian Network for Children's Rights. She made history as the very first executive director of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, transforming a startup state agency into a landmark institution. She has led complex regional development and media governance initiatives alongside international partners like GIZ, UNESCO, and the European Union's Creative Europe program. In 2021, she was awarded by the UN Women and the Ukrainian Institute for Women in Arts for Cultural Management. Whether managing cross-border technical and cultural cooperations, leading national media organizations, or building sustainable public-private partnerships, Ambassador Fediv has consistently championed inclusive growth, social resilience, and institutional innovation. She speaks Ukrainian, English, German, Polish, and Spanish. May we now invite Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to the Republic of the Philippines, for her presentation. Madam Ambassador.
Good morning to everybody. First of all, I want to thank you, SEARCA and UP Los Baños teams, for the invitation. I'm really happy to be today with you and to share my insights from the Ukrainian point of view about the future potential collaboration areas between our countries. But before jumping into the agriculture, trade and investments, I wanted to show you a short presentation about Ukraine and the main data about my country and why we are as we are, Ukrainians, brave people of Europe. Why the name of the presentation is Between the Skies and Plains? Because it's the main colors of our national flag, blue and yellow, and it represents the free spirit of Ukrainians, because we always have no limits as a sky, and also the fertile lands and being breadbasket of Europe, the yellow part of the flag. Next slide. Next one. So Ukraine is one of the biggest countries in Europe, and it has many neighbors, as you see: Russia, Belarus, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Moldova, and through the Black Sea and Azov Sea, also with Turkey in the south. And being the biggest country in Europe, we were blessed by God to have a really nice geography. We have 4 seasons, which is really good for our fertile lands. That's why we are meant to be the breadbasket of Europe, but at the same time, we are a country on the crossroads. And that's why one of the famous American author, who is really a great expert on Ukraine, Timothy Snyder, called us a bloody land of Europe. So it's really interesting to be at the same time the breadbasket, not only of Europe, but also at the same time being the most bloody lands of Europe, thanks to our neighbor in the east. Next slide. As I already told about our symbols, which you know is blue and yellow flag, which I already transmitted the meaning, and coat of arms. It's also the which represents the trizub. Trizub, it comes from the 10th century, and it was by the Kiev Rus, the main coat of arms. And when you see it, it's like a bird which is flying. Some of our countrymen are naming it a phoenix, because Ukraine has always come from ashes, losing our statehood from time to time, but still recovering and still preserving being Ukrainians, despite being under the constant occupations of our neighbors and beyond. Next slide. Our cultural icons. We have our Filipiana, it's Vyshymanka. It's traditional embroidered shirts featuring the hand stretch symbols, and in different regions of Ukraine we have different Vyshymankas, and many families they preserve from generation to generation this national clothing, and to make the history of Ukraine preserved despite, as I already told you, different kind of occupations we lived through. So as Filipiana, vyshyvanka is wearing by Ukrainians during the festive periods, but also nowadays during the everyday life. And many Ukrainian fashion designers nowadays are using vyshyvanka symbols. And you may see even the famous American pop stars wearing Ukrainian vyshyvankas or some brands from Ukrainian designers. Borscht is our national famous Ukrainian soup. It's beetroot soup. It's now UNESCO cultural heritage. And it's really tasty. Telling from Ukrainian point of view, if you want to taste it, you can come to El Nido. In El Nido, we have only one Ukrainian restaurant, which is called Odessa Mama. It's a family from Odessa, the southern city of Ukraine, who moved to the Philippines 10 years ago, and they opened their own family business here in El Nido. There you can try not only borscht, but also all other dishes from Ukraine, and to have taste of Ukraine. They even brew their own beer for the beer lovers, and also do their own cheese, soft cheese. And we have a famous cheese dish which is called syrniki. So also I welcome you to El Nido to try borscht. Different regions of Ukraine had different kind of borscht we eat. So it can include meat, beans, and other flavors. Ukrainian, because for many people around the world, it's not obvious that Ukrainians have their own language, which is Ukrainian language. And when we analyze the language groups, Ukrainian language is more common with Polish language actually than with Russian language. But still, Russian is also, broadly speaking, in Ukraine because of the legacy of the Soviet Union. But our Ukrainian language now is in the stage of renaissance, and many Ukrainians who were brought during the Soviet times now are coming back to the roots, and Ukrainian is more broadly speaking around the Ukraine. Next slide. What is a contemporary Ukraine? It's since 1990s, when we gained our independence back after the collapse of Soviet Union. It's all about democracy and freedom. It's all about revolutions and reforms. Next slide. If you see about the nowadays and the war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine, everything started in 2013. In November, when Ukrainians went into the streets, and it was the beginning of Euromaidan protests. Why Euromaidan? Because at that time, Ukraine was planning, or the people of Ukraine were planning to join the European Union, and the first association agreement meant to be signed by our, at that time, acting president, Viktor Yanukovych. But our president went to the Baltic states in order to sign this agreement, but at the last minute, he refused. Instead, he decided to gain the more deeper union with Russia, as Belarus has done at that time. And people were against this decision. So that's why the first protesters were actually the students of Ukrainian universities. And Euromaidan was happening not only in the capital city, in Kyiv, but around the whole Ukraine. We have 24 regions, and each region has its own capital. So in each capital cities of each region, people went out into the streets. And it was a democratic uprising without any use of force. But in 2014, in February, escalation started, and the real revolution started. And at that time, we managed to kick our pro-Russian president away, so he left the country. At the same time, he took all money from Ukrainian treasury. And when we were still in the in-between phase, waiting for the new election to come, Russia used this period. And in March 2014, they annexed the Crimean Peninsula. Why they have done it so fast? Because our previous pro-Russian president signed a special agreement in 2011, giving the Russian right to place the fleet and the army on the territory of Crimea. That's why they used this opportunity just to take the peninsula. Then we had our election and we elected our pro-Ukrainian president, but still Russia remained Crimea. We used all diplomatic tools. We created several diplomatic instruments with our partners and allies, United States of America, France, Germany, UK, and Russia was part of this negotiation. It was called Minsk negotiation because they were happening in Belarus, where we were trying to still take Crimea back through the diplomatic means. But it didn't happen. Russia invaded the eastern parts of Ukraine, so-called Donbas region, two regions, Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast. And then when actual war started. So it was not in 2022, it was in 2014, but it was called special operation by Russians. And they were also blaming us that it's internal conflict between pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian Ukrainians. But we saw the Russian troops who invaded Ukraine in 2014 and who occupied these eastern parts of Ukraine. But still, diplomatic channels were open, and from 2014 till 2022, we have done everything possible still to make Russia our friend and partner, but we didn't succeed. And in 2022, the next slide, the full-scale invasion started. I remember it by myself. I was at that time in Kiev. So on 21st of February at 4 a.m., we all woke up from the constant shellings and bombings outside our windows. Russia invaded Kyiv Oblast, so they came from north. They moved from east, from already occupied regions, and from the south, from Crimea. So from three parts, they came into the territory of Ukraine, and so the full-scale war started, which is still ongoing. And each day we are experiencing from 500, 600 drone attacks and 300, 400 ballistic missiles attacks. Unfortunately, many people died in this war, not only from Ukrainian side, but also from Russian side. According to data we have, Russians have already lost, since 2022 till nowadays, more than 1.5 million soldiers. The numbers from Ukrainian side is lower, but it's because Ukrainians are using asymmetric tools to fight with Russia, because we understand we are around 30 million people, Russia more than 143 million people. Russia has a big war machine, and at that time we understood that in order to fight back and to defend ourselves, we need to invest in new technologies, and we need to invest in our people too. That's why in February 2022, many countries have given us 2-3 days. That's why we didn't have in the beginning much help from our like-minded partners and friends, because they were thinking that, taking into consideration on data, Ukraine cannot stand longer than 2-3 days. But what they missed, they didn't study Ukraine and Ukrainians. I have been studying in US, and I have been analyzing that in US they have more than 100 institutions, think tanks, who are working with topics war and peace. And nobody has predicted the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, because everybody was studying Russia, but they didn't study Ukraine. But they have actually 35 scenarios how China will invade Taiwan, but 0 scenario how Russia would invade Ukraine. And that's why we learned our lessons too, that we need to be more present around the world, and we need to tell our story, because after the collapse of Soviet Union, we still were in this legacy of friendship with Russia, and we're not so actively present, especially in the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. That's why we started to actively open the embassies to be present here, to develop our bilateral cooperation, and to invest not only in army, but also to invest in diplomacy, because Ukraine, as nobody else, is interested in having peace. But as for now, Russia does not show the same interest of it. The next slide. Next slide. That's why we are more active now in the region of Southeast Asia. In 2024, our Minister of Foreign Affairs published a new strategy on Ukraine-ASEAN, and we want to broaden our cooperation with all 11 ASEAN member states, including the Philippines, in 3 dimensions. The first dimension, and why I'm today here, is food security. To increase our bilateral and multilateral trade, especially in agriculture and food and beverage. Secondly, also to invest more in the region and also to open Ukraine for investments from your region, because recovery of Ukraine is one of the biggest investment projects, and we hope that it will happen sooner than later, when the war will end and we will start reconstruct and recover Ukraine. Because as for now, the estimate by the World Bank of losses of Ukraine during these 4.5 years of full-scale invasion are more than $600 billion. When we talk about infrastructure, I don't talk about the psychological effect of war. And according to our sociologists and demographers, we will need more than 80 years to recover from this war, when it will stop tomorrow. Because many generations are already influenced. So coming back to ASEAN and to the Philippines, Ukraine see a big potential in strengthening cooperation, especially with the Philippines as the most like-minded countries within the ASEAN member states. You showed our solidarity with our country from the first day of the full-scale invasion. You were vocal on supporting Ukraine, and I think when we dig deeper, there are many reasons behind it. It's first of all, I think that we are both the middle countries, and we are both on the crossroads, and we are both have different neighbors around us. And I think being agile and being prepared for any scenarios, being man-made or nature-made, and resilience is not the new word for you too. That's why I think you were the most vocal one on support of Ukraine, and you supported all resolution on peace at the UN level. And that's why after the visit of Ukrainian president to Manila in 2024, the decision was made to open the embassy right away and to be more present and to deepen the cooperation in agriculture trade, in defense and security, and people-to-people cooperation. Next slide. Breadbasket of Europe and Pearl of the Orient. Yes, so how and why we see agriculture as the main sector in which we can broaden our cooperation. First of all, let's go to the numbers. As for now, unfortunately, the numbers are not so high when we talk about bilateral trade between Ukraine and the Philippines. It's only $60 million when we talk about 2025. And we import more from the Philippines than export to the Philippines. 70% is import for Ukraine from the Philippines, and 30% is export from Ukraine to the Philippines. What we import from the Philippines is mostly small electronics and processed food like banana chips. What we export to the Philippines is agricultural products like wheat, barley, corn, sunflower products, and fertilizers, and pharmaceutical. Before the war, the full-scale invasion, I mean before 2022, these numbers were much, much higher. But war influenced, for sure, our trade and export corridors, especially our Black Sea corridor, which was targeted by Russians many, many times, and now they just started once again. But at the same time, we want to show the world that despite the war, Ukraine is maintaining its business as usual. It's not easy, but in order to survive in the war, we need to keep our economy ongoing. So our main message to countries around the world, even if you cannot support us with military part, you can support us just making business with us, or just creating and developing the new project in research, in education, in culture. Just make us visible. Because otherwise, it's not only the battlefield, physical battlefield. It's many dimensions how Russia see the demolishing of Ukraine. That's why they are targeting the whole ecosystem of our society and also our international relations, or through the economical means, because we have already several cases when Russia has stolen our wheat and resold them. We are now having the case with Israel, with Greece, where Russia just resold the grains from Ukraine. But still, Ukraine created a special program, which is called Grain from Ukraine, where thanks to our like-minded countries in the Black Sea region, they guaranteed and had negotiations with Russia the security corridor through the Black Sea in order for us to maintain export of wheat products for more than 50 plus countries, especially in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Secondly, our small and medium enterprises and big enterprises who are working in agriculture, they are expanding the businesses. For example, they relocate the businesses from the eastern parts of Ukraine, because nowadays 20% of our territory is occupied by Russia. It's mostly east and south, but 80% remains Ukrainian. So this 80% of our territories, our small and medium enterprises, farmers, are using as much as possible by relocating businesses in more safe areas. It's a western border of Ukraine, because Russia is targeting it less. So the lands which border with Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania. Secondly, we also relocate some of the businesses to our neighboring countries like Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia. Secondly, we digitalize the processes of farming because we understand that we need to produce more with less resources. And last but not least, we also move our R&D as much next to the production lines as possible. And we collaborate with Ukrainians who are living in Ukraine, with Ukrainians abroad, with our partners and allies around the world to invent the new tools of cooperation. And the Philippines is also now in this phase. We have a negotiation ongoing between the Ministry of Agriculture of Ukraine and the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, and the MOU between two departments is already on the final stage. So I hope till the end of this year we will sign it. We also want to open the meat market of the Philippines for Ukrainian meat products. And the main problem as for now is certification of the products through the inspections, because I totally understand, because of the security reason, the inspection for the Philippines is not so open to visit Ukraine physically to see the production lines. But Ukraine has already negotiation with international organizations, WTO and others, to make amendments to the legislation around the world to make online inspections possible. We already have done this with Japan. Japan even made amendments to the legislation to open online inspections. We have done this with UK and Canada. So if you cannot come physically and see the production lines, we are open to do online inspections, and we are now in negotiation with DA, maybe to make it possible also for the Philippines, and we will have the pilot first online inspection on our poultry products within this year. And also we have the full security package for the inspections to come. And for example, your colleagues from D&D just recently visited Ukraine. So it's also the decisions to be made, but they are now safe back home, and they can share the experience with DA, and maybe the delegation from DA will also come and visit Ukraine. And what I want also to say, if you will come and see our country, you will be surprised to see the normal life between the sirens, and you will not feel the war when the sirens are not there, because Ukrainians are open the new shops, they are open the new restaurants. You know, they are going to the theaters, to the galleries. They are living their lives because it's what Russia wants. It's the same with the business. Our business is maintaining, improving themselves and open the new ways to collaboration. That's why I hope that still our MOU will be signed, and not only the plant products, but also the meat products will be opened for the Filipino market. Because when we talk about the price, it's much lower than other European member states. And Ukraine is also heading to become the EU member state. And I hope FTA, you are now in the process of finalizing with European Union, will also automatically become part of this FTA. Secondly, we are working on export of animal protein, because it's easier when we talk about the certification. So I hope we will also, and it's also demand according to DA to increase the imports of the protein, animal protein. The fertilizers, we also want to increase the numbers of export, and also the agricultural technical equipment, which can be used by the farmers and also small and medium and big enterprises here in the Philippines. And also one of the niche we are exploring now is dairy products. And it's not only the export of dry milk or any kind of other cheese and etc., but also building the production lines here in the Philippines with Ukrainian expertise. It's also of interest for DA, and also to exploring the dairy market here, because Ukraine is known also to be strong in the dairy products export, not only within the Europe. Last but not least, also we exploring some new niches like berries and nuts. Ukraine is also known having an export of blueberries, raspberries around the world, and different kind of nuts also. When we talk about the imports from the Philippines to Ukraine, first of all, Ukrainians are interested in importing the canned food. During the war, it's a top priority. Canned fish, canned meat, and you are known of having it. Secondly, dry fruits. My mom just recently sent me the photo during the Easter time when she was cooking our national Easter bread. Look, where are the dried fruits come from? And it was written from the Philippines. So, you know, and banana chips, Ukrainians love them, and dried mangoes, and I hope also not dried. But we are now also exploring of exporting the green mangoes, which become tasty mangoes when they will arrive to Ukraine. And also when we will increase the bilateral trade, the transportation routes would be much, much easier to overcome, because then we will have the same overload coming from both sides. So now we use the ports in Odessa, directly in Ukraine, and also ports in Gdańsk in Poland, and also in Constanța in Romania. So there are some products which can come by plane and then go from Romania or Poland by trains to Ukraine and in other direction. So you see, it's what makes Ukraine agile and open, and creative. So last but not least is also our defense and security, but taking into consideration the agriculture. I have already visited several provinces here, especially in Visayas and in Mindanao and northern Luzon, and many of your agriculture companies are interested in our drone technologies, but to use them for the agricultural reason, to spread the seeds or to monitor the planting processes. So we are also exploring this part of possible cooperation between our countries. I think that's it from my side, just to be more short and to leave more opportunities for the open discussion. So just to wrap up, I want also to focus not only on agriculture, but we are also working with DTI to create the Joint Commission on Trade, Investment, and Scientific Technological Cooperation. And I hope SEARCA can be also then part of this Joint Commission, in which we want to include government, education, and think tanks. We are now also on the final stage with DTI to sign this joint agreement. And last but not least, people to people and education. We are really open to have the bilateral and multilateral cooperation between Philippine and Ukrainian universities, taking into consideration agriculture, biodiversity, etc. And we have also a special program for the universities around the world, which is called Global Coalition of Ukrainian Studies. More than 100 universities from more than 50 plus countries already joined this coalition. From the Philippines, now it's Ateneo de Manila, the first university who joined, and I hope the UP Los Baños will be the next one, where we can focus on different sectors of bilateral educational cooperation. In case of Ateneo de Manila, it's political science and civil defense. In case of SEARCA and UP, it can be agriculture and biodiversity. It's also important to bring more people from Ukraine to the Philippines, and from the Philippines to Ukraine is also part of this program. Just recently, 4 experts from Ukraine visited Philippines. They traveled around and made the connections, especially for R&D. And I hope we will also do this in agricultural sector too, thanks to the cooperation, which hopefully we will build in the nearest future. So once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest in our country. And please, you can rely on us. We always are reciprocally open to cooperate with other like-minded countries and to exchange the knowledge. Let's be both resilient and let's be both prepared for anything what future holds for us. But still, what I mostly love in the Philippines is the trust in people and kindness you have. And I think we need to have more people like Ukrainians and Filipinos who are kind, who are peaceful, and who are open for building the bridges and to cooperate, and not vice versa. And we are the majority, because even when we see the numbers of countries at the UN, it's not only 5 big players who are questioning the existing international orders. There are more than 100 other players who have the force to change the existing order of procedures, not only at UN level, and it's in our hands, in the hands of our future generations. So I hope that we will prevail and peace will prevail, and we will talk about environmental issues and agriculture and not about defense and security and all others war-related issues. So once again, maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Slava Ukraini. Heroyam slava. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Ma'am, please stay on stage, ma'am. Please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you for that very insightful and informative presentation, and I will join you there. At this point, we now open the floor for your questions or queries for Madam Ambassador Fediv regarding her presentation on perspectives and opportunities on the Ukraine-Philippines bilateral relations. We have a microphone on the center aisle, and as you raise your question, kindly state your name and your organization. Anyone who wants to throw the first question? Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Tim. I'm currently supporting the School Meals project for the ASEAN region. And right now, the Philippines is planning to scale the Nutriban for the universal school meals. Basically, this Nutriban is wheat-based, and the Philippines is a importer of wheat. Now, that's the context. I have two somehow related questions. And in terms of potential exports of the Philippine produce to Ukraine, and as Ukraine is harmonizing with EU crop protection products, especially on pesticide use, will Ukraine require the same standards to Filipino exporters, and will it be parallel for Ukrainian exporters to the Philippines? And if yes, how do you see the timeline for the implementation of the capacity building measures for Filipino exporters?
Yeah, thank you for your question. As for now, we are still in the process of entering the European Union, so different clusters are opening step by step. That's why now is a window of opportunities to still have less bureaucratic procedures from the Ukrainian side to the Filipino side before we will be joining EU fully. And this is also the main message which is transmitted by our businesses who are now visiting Philippines and having B2B. When we talk about the meat products or plant products, the prices now are much lower and the criteria are much more flexible. So yes, when we will become the full member of the European Union, the criteria will be the same as you have for all EU member states. And then we will already compete at the agricultural market of the whole EU member states. We are still, because of the war, have more flexible criteria and more flexible attitude because we are suffering more than our like-minded countries within Europe. But yeah, that's why we are pushing so hard to sign MOUs now, to have already deepening cooperation bilaterally. Then when we will become the member of multilateral union, we can just adjust, both of us can adjust, which will be also organically done because you will be having already FTA and we will be already a member of EU. But yeah, as for now, it's like windows of opportunity. That's why we want to push it through till the end of 2026.
All right. I also have another question, and thank you for that answer. I'd also like to comment how Ukraine is navigating this food security space during this period. My next question would be, in terms of food safety context or the perception of the food safety contamination, and while the Philippines is productive in terms of agricultural consumer biotech products, and Ukraine is currently pursuing some country legislation restrictions, and some adjustments on GMO produce. And how would Ukraine navigate this bilateral relations with the Philippines in terms of the specific GMO varieties?
So now our representatives of the Special State Service on Food Security are in the constant communication with all agencies under the Department of Agriculture in order to make regionalization of our meat plant products in order to take into consideration all existing security reasons and food security reasons. So as Ukraine, we are fighting on different battlefields because some countries, they need to deal only with African diseases, etc. But Ukraine needs to deal with this part, which is, objective, but also with security issues raised by Russia, by bombings and shelling. So all our crisis maps for our businesses, they are, so multidimensional that you always need to be twice more resilient than the other businesses who are dealing with the same issues. So yeah, we try to be agile, we try to adjust, but still we are facing the same threats as all our businesses around the world, plus the threats which we cannot predict. Because when Russia one morning will decide to make a mass bombing of all our wheat fields, within one day we will lose billions of dollars, and then we cannot export because everything what will be left will be only for the internal market. So this unpredictability is really high because we are dealing with unpredictable enemy, unfortunately. But still, we cannot sit and be pessimistic because then we will die at one day. You know, it's all famous books are saying from the Second World War, in order to survive, you need to each day work on you, and that's why we are keeping positive. And we have never left anybody behind, even if it was crisis situation. Even your colleagues know it, who, because of the fertilizers, we still came back on track. We do our best because we know that many countries rely on us around the world. And we hope also that you will push Russia more, because then it's all interconnected. More sanctions on Russia, more possibility Russia will sit, negotiate, and end this war, and we will come back to business as usual. So everything is so interconnected that we cannot talk about economic diplomacy, not taking into consideration political, defense, people to people, and other dimensions. But yeah, we try our best. So thank you for all your really specific questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
Good morning, Your Excellency. I am Francesca Tamayo, a grade 12 student under Humanities and Social Sciences from Colegio de San Juan de Letran, Calamba. My question is, as a student learning about global relations, we know that diplomacy goes beyond government meetings. What suggestions can you give to young Filipinos on how they can actually support and contribute to people-to-people relations between our two nations?
Yeah, thank you for your question. First of all, now we are living in digitalized world, and all media-related posts about Ukraine, or just having Ukraine on the pages of your media, of your social media, is known and seen by Ukrainians, and it's also a big support when we understand that even the countries who are 10,000 kilometers away from us are supporting and sharing the same values. Secondly, if you can be part of any educational programs where other Ukrainians, and being vocal on Ukraine, it's also a big help of us, because sometimes we feel that we do not matter and what we do does not matter, but it's not true. And we Ukrainians see this, because thanks to being so vocal, I'm still sitting here and representing my country. Otherwise, when we will be silent and do not trust that each voice matter, each country matter, each person matter, we will not survive. And it's the main lesson from Ukraine to other countries. People matter, because who made Ukraine survive? Ordinary people, and not only our politicians. Yes, we have great leaders who, do their job, but they will be nothing without the people of Ukraine. That's why we have so many revolutions during the last 30 years. Even now, during the ongoing war, just recently, we had a demonstration made by the students because they wanted to preserve the Minister of Defense, who now is, as nobody else, how governments can be changed from time to time in the young democracies. But still, that's why do whatever you feel like doing. Post in social media, support if you have any friends in the eastern part of Europe, and be part of joint projects, be interested in Ukraine. It's also a big support for us. Even being here, it's already the show of big respect and support, and thank you for this.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ma'am.
The floor is still open for questions. Okay, if none. Madam Ambassador, we have curated some questions from our online registration platform, so please allow me to go through a few of them. There's a question here. What agricultural technologies or innovations from Ukraine have the greatest potential to improve productivity and resilience among Filipino farmers?
First of all, our public service is now fully digitalized. What does it mean? That in order to open the business, and if you work in the farming business, you need 1 minute to open the new enterprise through the digital app. So we call us the country in the smartphone. War has shown us how important it is, and in your case, because of the national catastrophe, typhoons, etc., within one night, all paper can be destroyed. That's why we digitalized all our paperwork, and it's easier for farmers and other businesses to make business, to register, to make changes, everything you need, 2 or 3 clicks. Even army, it's all digitalized. So you can mobilize through the app. And it helps, and it's what we also can share with you. Then also digitalization of the farming itself. So using more technology, having trainings on financial literacy, how to do business. We really had a great job done by our ministry, by our supporters, I mean the international and European organization, to train the farmers around the Ukraine and to mechanize the farming industry. Then they can produce more and use it for own purposes and also to export, and creating the networks and chains. Ukrainian society is pretty horizontal, and it's easy to build these networks between the regions, between the different stakeholders, and it makes also the farming industry more sustainable.
Any questions from the floor? Okay, there's another one, ma'am, here. How can small and medium-sized enterprises in both countries benefit from stronger Philippines-Ukraine agricultural cooperation?
First of all, it's economic background from this, yes, so export, import. As I said to you, Ukrainian society is pretty horizontal, so everything what is coming into Ukrainian budget, the farmers benefit from it. Because only working on the internal markets, it's not enough. The case of Ukraine is also that we are dying as a nation, not because only we are killed each day, but also 7 million Ukrainians left Ukraine, especially the young generations. 4 million Ukrainians are internally displaced, and also the birth rates are dropping. Because not many people are, ready to give the birth during these unstable times. And we see the growing markets in the Philippines. So also we see this cooperation just from the numbers point of view. And secondly, being and having this cultural background, I have done cross-cultural analysis between Ukraine and the Philippines, and we share much more in common than we think from the cultural perspective. We have the same values. We have the same worldviews, even being 10,000 kilometers away. So I think it's much easier for us to do business together because we will understand each other better than, older democracies who have went through the more reforms than we do. And that's why I truly believe in the middle countries cooperations, and it's much, much potential, and including the farmers too.
I think this is the last question from the curated ones. Besides agricultural trade, what specific areas of cooperation can be harnessed or even strengthened between the Philippines and Ukraine?
As I already mentioned in my presentation, so it's a plant industry, yes, so wheat, grain, corn, then berries, nuts, and fruits from the Philippines, then processed food. And I think Ukraine and the Philippines are both countries who want to export more processed food, and meat products, as I already also mentioned several times, fertilizers, and also agricultural technical equipment, where we also see the potential. And yeah, joint trainings and joint exchange between the farmers at the face-to-face and B2B level.
Okay, that's the last question on my list. Any other questions from the floor? Yes, please. Sir, after the young lady.
A pleasant morning, Your Excellency. I am Akira Bimon, a grade 12 student from Colegio de San Juan de Letran, Calamba, Humanities and Social Sciences. So my question po is, can you please elaborate the online inspection process, as I'm curious on how efficient it is to the export and import of the Philippines? What can we expect from it, and what are the risks that we might experience from this? Please provide alternatives for these risks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. As I already said that as we are still in the beginning of this journey, yes, we had already the bilateral trade, but when we analyze, it mostly goes through the third countries and not directly Ukraine, the Philippines. So the main task is to create the safe and fast transportation routes between Ukraine and the Philippines that we can directly deepen our bilateral trade and investment. Secondly, I see also potential for our businesses, not only to export-import operation, but also to explore both countries, for Ukrainian business, Philippines, and for the Philippines, Ukraine, for the investments. I understand that both of our countries are facing different challenges, and sometimes our businesses need to invest in ourselves, yes, but the world is so interconnected that we can explore this. What Ukraine proposes, if you invest in Ukraine, you get first-hand access to all reforms and innovations which Ukrainians are going through because of the war. So it's not only about the money flow, it's more about getting the expertise on the ground. And I think it's the same message which Philippines transmit to the international community. When you invest in the Philippines, you also have the possibility for R&D in the ground in the different dimensions. So I think we can share this experience on both sides. And secondly, we just need to open our countries to each other in the business sector, just to understand how to do business in Ukraine for the Filipinos and how to do business in the Philippines for Ukrainians. So a lot of literacy work should be done. And it's also what we do, organizing different kind of business forums, bringing Ukrainian business here in Manila and in other provinces and vice versa, just to make people learn about each other and they build networks and connections. Because I think the main reason now is that we do not know about each other much. And people to people is a ground for business to business, and it's our job to do. So maybe sorry for not answering directly your question, but it's only the beginning of the road which we explore. And I hope when I will be ending my duty here, we can meet once again and already talk about the tangible results and not only about the plans and the MOUs on the way, etc. Because, you know, we are a result-oriented nation. It's a survival mode for now. And I hope that from the survival mode, we will go to the development mode and can explore more. And here we are for this, and I hope that next stop will be the opening of the Embassy of the Philippines in Kyiv to explore both sides' trades. So thank you once again, and yeah, I hope we will see each other in the next 2 years with more results.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the talk. I'm a retired professor here of the university. I'm working right now with another university. And I was looking at your presentation. One thing that I, wanted to understand was you mentioned something like a relationship with some universities, like Ateneo de Manila and all. But, what is it that, that you're working with? Are you trying to have a collaboration, partnership with different universities, especially also with UP Los Baños? What is it?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, it's a special program of our government, which is called Ukrainian Coalition, a Global Coalition of Ukrainian Studies. The main aim of this program is that when university joins this coalition, it gets access to the knowledge bank about Ukraine. So first added value, when you have special departments which are focusing on exploring Ukraine politics, Ukraine agriculture, Ukraine history, Ukraine culture, etc. You have access to the experts who can come to the country with a lecture. Secondly, to do the trainings. Then for R&D, Many universities built joint research teams based from the Ukrainians and the Filipinos, or Ukrainians and the Finnish people, etc., and focus on different topics which are relevant for both countries. It could be political science, it could be civil defense, it could be agriculture, it could be crops, it could be environmental, it could be space. So it depends, it varies from country to country. And then they do a joint scientific research based on what they then transmitted to businesses or to more practical level. Secondly, just lectures and courses of Ukrainian language. It's a little bit like result centers you have around the world, but more profound, with more support and more network only on education, not on culture, but more on education. As I said, with Ateneo de Manila, we focus more on political science, and we took the topic about the minilateralism. So how countries can build bilateral cooperation when they are part of the broader regional networks. When we are part of the European Union, how the politics of European Union will influence the politics of Ukraine regarding the Philippines, and how you, being part of ASEAN, can build your relationship with Ukraine when other ASEAN member states are more pro-Russian. You know, just we dig deeper in this topic. With Public Safety College of the Philippines, we work on civil defense training. Ukrainians now, because of the war, are more profound in the topic of civil defense, have to build horizontal networks, have to digest internally displaced people, have to BBB, build back better. So we also are building the joint research and educational programs with Public Safety College of the Philippines and the respected institution in Ukraine. So, you know, and it's two examples. The same we can do with UP, Los Baños, and SEARCA to bridge you with universities who are working in agriculture and biodiversity. Choose one or two topics and then have student exchange, professor exchange, joint fora. Like with Ateneo, we started the Kyiv-Manila Strategic Dialogue. So the first expert forum, which will be happening yearly, and we want to expand different topics of our bilateral cooperation. We do have this with our neighboring countries like Kyiv, Berlin, or Kyiv, Warsaw, or you have together with your neighboring countries. But what about being 10,000 kilometers away and facing the same issues? How the security issues in Atlantic influence the security issues in Indo-Pacific? Is diplomacy really working when we are facing the bigger neighbors who are questioning our territorial integrity? You know, there are many, many topics can be explored. That's why we created this global coalition. And one more, it's not only about Ukraine and Philippines. You gain access to 50 more other countries who are part of the global coalition. And then we have already trilateral, bilateral collaboration. University in Finland, university in US, university in Ukraine, and university in Egypt, doing together the joint project, which is relevant for all 4 or 5 countries. So it's also the next step. We start this and then we go to multilateral. And it's also just to raise voice, what I was telling about US. I was really surprised that having Ukrainian Studies Center in US, they are studying Russia. You can find 100 books, how to understand Putin, what is Russian soul, 0 books about Ukraine. And that's why we understood we need to be present there. Cultural diplomacy, why Russians are not excluded from different cultural institutions and sport institutions. Who are sitting in the boards? Who are the staff of these institutions? Of Russian origin. That's why when Ukraine excluded, blocked Russian culture, at the end we were all excluded, all our cultural activists, and Russians remained. And then you have only unilateral view what is happening in Eastern Europe, and not multilateral. The same with Southeast Asia. It can be also, that is our main aim of this global coalition of Ukrainian studies, to put Ukraine on agenda and to make it reciprocally beneficial for both sides who join this coalition. So I hope that you will be also joining it, and we will be focusing on agriculture and biodiversity. And ecocide in Ukraine is happening also, ecocide because of the war, which is not so broadly spoken about like genocide, yes, but it's also a problem. and the results will be far beyond Ukraine. So yeah, I hope I answered your questions, and thank you for your interest in it.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. We have room for one last question.
Your Excellency, my name is Nabi Alolor from Colegio de San Juan de Latran, Calamba, third-year marketing student. So this is my question. What challenges do you foresee in pursuing trade and global expansion between Ukraine and the Philippines, considering that one of the major issues here is difficulty in trading and corruption?
I think that main potential I see in the cooperation between both of our countries is that you mentioned it right, that we are facing most of the time the same challenges. And I think that for us it's easier to find the common language. And I see it when I bring Ukrainian businesses here and I am during these meetings, and then of a sudden when they exchange, yes, so much commonalities are present there. But when you are now upper mediate income countries, we have been already upper, we are in this part, yes. So we are slowly going the same reforms, made in Ukraine, made in Philippines, investing in small and medium enterprises, developing farming, a school feeding reform, which you mentioned, student feeding reform, which you mentioned. It's like some of the models we have already done, you can just take from us. Some models you have already done, we can just take from us. And our young democracies, we will digest these models easier than we take the models from the Western old democracies who are far beyond us, yes? And sometimes we just try to be the small US or small Europe, Western Europe in the case of Ukraine. And it was a big alignment for many Ukrainians because we were always copy-pasting. We want to be like Germany. We want to be like France. But then all of a sudden you see it and you understand, but we are Ukraine and we need to be proud of that. You are Philippines and you need to be proud of that. And we will be, I think, more at the one level, building these trustful partnerships, because sometimes we are not at the same level with our like-minded Western or Eastern, in your case, partners, who are like much, much developed. So it's my main message and what I feel can be developed. And then we can include in these networks other like-minded countries who are also middle young democracies and build the system for UN, because we really supported you in becoming the non-permanent security council member states, because we believe that thanks to the like-minded countries we can change the Security Council from inside. I'm still trusting diplomacy, but at the same time, I see that diplomacy is not working now pretty well because we have more than 124 conflicts around the world. But still, I feel that this is new niche in which we need to go. Not only 5 satellites we are mingling around and depend on the mood of these countries. Today they love us, tomorrow they don't love us, and we are like, but why we not stick together and develop other collaborations and dictate them the new realities? So I hope I will see it in 10, 20 years, and maybe you will be already conducting this in practice, but it's my belief, and that's why I see beyond 2026, even when somebody do not see it now. But I see potential in collaborations between our countries, and not only Ukraine, Philippines, but Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. And I hope I'm right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Po.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, and thank you to our attendees. That's a very engaging discussion. At this point, we will now proceed to the awarding of the Certificate of Appreciation and a token of gratitude to our honorable guest for her valuable contribution to this 5th session of the MDS. So may we now call on Deputy Director Angkok to the stage. Let me read the citation. The Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture awards this Certificate of Appreciation to Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv in grateful recognition of her invaluable contribution as guest speaker During the Meet the Diplomat series held on 29 July 2026 at SEARCA, UPLB Campus College, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines, signed Dr. Mercedita A. Sumbilla, SEARCA Center Director. SEARCA is also presenting Ambassador Fediv with a replica of our growth monument, created by renowned Filipino contemporary visual artist Renato Rocha. The original is a 12.5-foot concrete sculpture featuring 11 interconnected stylized human figures. These figures now represent the 11 SEMIA member states, symbolizing unity amid diversity and the collective effort to achieve regional prosperity. The monument embodies the center's mission and the enduring spirit of Southeast Asia. Again, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. So to commemorate this event, we will have a group photo with our distinguished guest. After the group photo, we request everyone to please return to your seats as we will continue our program. Kindly follow the guidance of our ushers for proper arrangement of the group photo. Before we conclude, we encourage everyone to please take a few moments to share your thoughts with us. We value your feedback as they are our compass on how we can do better next time. Kindly point your phone camera on the QR code on screen and it will take you directly to our brief feedback survey. We also encourage you to follow SEARCA on Facebook and like our LinkedIn page to stay updated on our programs, initiatives, and future sessions of the MDS. Your continued engagement will help us further our mission of promoting sustainable agricultural innovation across Southeast Asia. Once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for your presence and participation. This is Nova Ramos of SEARCA's Training for Development Unit, wishing you all a wonderful and fulfilling rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Build a center and where we like to be, a place where you and me can work in harmony, where everyone is proud to serve with with dignity. Come, let's make this dream a reality. Fill our hearts and minds with a vision. Let our words below our mission. Leave our values on excellence.